My name is Sheila Phillips. I had a steady IT job in farming tech, earning enough to cover my small apartment in Clovis, just outside Fresno, California, along with the regular bills and a little emergency cushion. Life felt stable and under control until one seemingly ordinary evening changed everything forever. I pulled into my parking spot after a long day at the office and saw two children standing at my door with only a small bag beside them and a handwritten note tucked under the strap. They looked exhausted and confused but unharmed, so I approached slowly and picked up the paper. The message was short and direct, and it was clearly written by my sister. She said she deserved to be happy and that I should not try to find her. Those few lines hit me like a punch because they meant she had chosen to abandon her own kids, leaving them on my doorstep without a warning, a conversation, or even basic instructions. Responsibility crashed over me in seconds. This was not an accident. It was a deliberate abandonment that demanded immediate response. I checked the kids to be sure they were safe for the night and brought them inside, closing the door behind us. While fixing something for them to eat and drink, my mind was already racing toward the future, especially the possibility that one day my sister might return and pretend she could be mom again, as if none of this had ever happened and nothing had changed. If your sister abandoned her kids on your doorstep and disappeared, what would you do? Drop a comment and share how you'd handle it. And make sure you subscribe for more intense family drama with real emotional twists. As night deepened, the situation demanded immediate action. I took the children to a local urgent care clinic near my apartment in Clovis that stayed open late because I needed a professional to check them over thoroughly after whatever they had been through. The doctor examined my nephew Travis and my niece Brandy, then ran basic tests before telling me they were only mildly dehydrated with some fatigue from irregular meals, but nothing that proper rest and nutrition could not resolve in a few days. That update eased one layer of panic, yet it also forced me to confront how anyone could abandon two children old enough to understand fear without ensuring even the simplest form of protection. I watched Travis keep glancing at the door during the examination as if expecting someone familiar to appear, while Brandy pressed her face into my sleeve and would not let go of my hand. Their reactions made the note's selfish tone echo even louder in my head. The following morning, after managing a few hours of sleep on the couch, I opened the banking app on my phone and checked the old joint account I still maintained with my sister Paula for some leftover family matters from years back. To my shock, Paula had accessed it the previous day and withdrawn almost all the savings, leaving just enough to avoid overdraft fees, but taking the bulk that we had built up over time. Seeing the balance drop so drastically made the betrayal feel even more calculated because it showed she had planned this exit carefully enough to secure funds while abandoning everything and everyone else behind. I sat there holding the phone, realizing that the money could have fed and clothed the very children she had just walked away from. I spent the afternoon researching private investigators in the Fresno area and hired one with good reviews who promised quick results on locating people who did not want to be found. Within 2 days, he called with a report stating that Paula was now living in a small rental in Texas with Marvin Anderson, a former coworker from her old job, who had apparently been part of this decision from the start. The details he provided about their new address and recent moves painted a picture of someone who had prepared for months to disappear completely without looking back. Hearing the investigator speak so matter-of-factly made something tighten in my chest, because every logistical detail he listed translated into another deliberate step away from Travis and Brandy. At the same time, I contacted Child Protective Services in California to explain the situation and request emergency temporary placement papers that would allow me to keep Travis and Brandy with me legally, instead of risking them entering the foster system. The social worker assigned to the case visited my apartment, conducted an initial home check, and approved the temporary guardianship after reviewing the note and the circumstances which clearly indicated abandonment under state law. She left me a folder of next steps and warned that Paula's disappearance meant hearings and paperwork would stretch forward for months. Having those documents in hand brought a small sense of security, knowing the children would stay with me while the longer process unfolded. Throughout those first days, I kept turning over the investigators' findings in my mind, realizing that Paula must have organized every step long before leaving the kids at my door, from packing their small bag to timing the bank withdrawal perfectly. That level of preparation made the whole act feel colder, because it was not a spur-of-the-moment choice but something thought out while still deciding to cut ties entirely with her own children. I noticed Travis waking up at night and sitting upright as if listening for footsteps in the hallway, while Brandy began following me from room to room, unwilling to be out of sight. Their behavior showed that abandonment was already shaping them. By the end of that first week, I cleared out my home office, converting it into a makeshift bedroom with air mattresses and fresh bedding, while ordering basic clothes and supplies online for Travis and Brandy to make the apartment feel more like a stable place for them. I mapped out a simple daily routine covering meals, school enrollment possibilities, and work adjustments, because I knew the coming weeks would require structure to help everyone settle into this unexpected new reality. The chaos had not disappeared, but at least the three of us had a starting point. Approximately 1 month after everything had started to change completely, the cost of full-time daycare in Fresno rose sharply, forcing me to sit down and recalculate my entire monthly budget in detail to prevent falling into serious financial trouble. I listed out every fixed expense from the apartment rent to utilities, then compared them against my salary from the IT farming tech job, realizing that caring for 2 additional children required immediate cuts in several non-essential areas. Those numbers on the spreadsheet highlighted how the financial burden was growing steadily, yet they also pushed me to find ways to balance things without compromising the basic needs of Travis and Brandy. I quickly reached out to my manager at work to request a more flexible schedule that allowed me to leave the office a couple of hours earlier each afternoon, so I could pick up the kids right when daycare closed, without incurring those steep late fees common at reputable centers around Clovis. Accepting this change meant giving up some performance bonuses, but it provided much greater peace of mind because I refused to let Travis or Brandy wait alone in an unfamiliar place after everything they had already endured. Over time, this new routine became second nature, helping me manage the split between office hours and daily pickup responsibilities more smoothly. To offset the shortfall, I switched completely to shopping for groceries and household items at the nearby Costco, focusing on generic brands instead of the pricier name labels I used to buy regularly. Those weekend trips now centered on hunting for the best deals on formula clothes for the kids, and bulk packaged foods that lasted longer, allowing significant savings while still ensuring Travis and Brandy had nutritious meals every day. This shift not only lowered expenses noticeably, but also taught me to prioritize what truly mattered during this tight period. Travis and Brandy slowly adjusted to the daily schedule, from set mealtimes to bedtime routines. Yet during quiet moments like right before sleep, they would often ask about their biological parents in soft, curious voices. I kept my answers simple, explaining that they were staying with me now and would be taken care of, well avoiding deeper details since Paula had chosen to leave without offering any real explanation. Those questions tugged at my heart, but they also reminded me to build a stronger sense of security so the kids could gradually move past the initial absence. I joined an online support group for single caregivers, where members shared practical experiences on handling finances when income suddenly stretched thin overnight. The advice from the group about building emergency funds or locating local daycare subsidies helped me reorganize spending more effectively without feeling isolated in tackling the challenges. Daily exchanges on the forum offered a sense of understanding and backup, even if it came only through the computer screen. I started taking on overtime shifts during weekends from the company to boost extra income, aimed at building an emergency fund large enough to cover unexpected costs that might arise over the next several months. Those Saturday and Sunday hours in front of the computer were exhausting, but watching Travis and Brandy play together in the apartment made every effort feel worthwhile. The fund grew steadily, providing reassurance that I could handle whatever came up without borrowing or cutting further into the children's essentials. After about half a year of gradually adapting to the new life, I met my best friend Rhonda for the first time at a parent-teacher association meeting for the preschool that Travis and Brandy had started attending in the Fresno area. We ended up sitting next to each other during the session, then struck up a conversation when the topic turned to the challenges of raising young children while holding down full-time jobs. Rhonda opened up about her own experiences with similar struggles, which made me feel less isolated because someone finally understood the daily pressure without me having to explain every detail. My attorney Leroy, whom I hired through a recommendation from a local legal aid service in Fresno, guided me through starting the formal abandonment proceedings under California family law. He explained the process step by step, including what evidence would carry the most weight in court, so I felt more confident moving forward with something that had felt overwhelming at first. Leroy's calm approach helped ease some of the anxiety because he assured me that cases like Paula's clear disappearance gave strong grounds for terminating parental rights over time. I gathered every piece of evidence I could find, from the private investigator's report to bank statements showing Paula's large withdrawal right before she vanished, then organized them carefully for submission with the court filing. Going through those documents brought back the initial shock, but it also reinforced my determination to secure legal protection for Travis and Brandy, so no one could disrupt their stability later. Handing the complete packet to Leroy felt like taking a concrete step toward making their place with me permanent. Rhonda stepped in to help a few times by coming over to cook dinner together on evenings when I came home, exhausted from long hours at the office and daycare pickup. Those shared meals not only lightened the immediate load, but also gave me a chance to talk through the day, which reduced the sense of carrying everything alone. Her practical support during those tough weeks built a foundation for the close friendship that would grow stronger as time passed. I attended the preliminary hearing where the judge reviewed the initial evidence and granted temporary custody to me while the full case moved forward toward a final decision. Sitting in the courtroom listening to the details presented brought a mix of relief and lingering anger toward Paula, but the judge's ruling provided official reassurance that Travis and Brandy would remain with me in the meantime. Leaving the building that day felt like crossing an important threshold because the legal system had acknowledged the reality of the abandonment. I began building deeper trust with Travis and Brandy through regular weekend activities, such as visits to the local park near Clovis where they could run around freely and we could talk about whatever came to their minds. Those outings gave us space to connect, without the rush of weekdays, allowing small moments of laughter and sharing that slowly strengthened our bond as a family unit. Watching them open up more during those times confirmed that consistency was helping heal the uncertainty Paula had left behind. Toward the end of the second year since the kids arrived, the Fresno court officially approved my adoption of Travis and Brandy, bringing the nearly 2-year legal process to a close, with Leroy's steady guidance throughout. Receiving the final papers in the mail that day lifted a weight I had carried for so long because it meant no more uncertainty about their future with me. From that moment, the focus shifted entirely to building a permanent home without any lingering threat from Paula disrupting what we had started creating together. Travis and Brandy began participating in the local 4-H club in Fresno, where they engaged in hands-on projects that quickly sparked their particular interest in farming technology applications. They spent weekends tending small plots and experimenting with basic sensors, which opened their eyes to how innovation could improve agriculture in ways that felt exciting and relevant. Watching them ask questions during club meetings showed me how much they were growing into curious learners ready to explore new ideas. I decided to move us into a larger rental house on the outskirts of Clovis that offered separate bedrooms for each child, along with a small yard for play. The extra space made daily life less cramped, allowing everyone to have personal areas while still coming together in common rooms. Signing the new lease felt like committing to this family unit in a more tangible way because the house represented stability we all needed. Rhonda often stopped by to help establish the routine of eating dinner together every evening, which strengthened the sense of family security we were cultivating. Those meals became a reliable anchor where we shared stories from the day and planned simple activities for the weekend. Her presence during that transition period made the adjustment smoother for all of us. Rhonda taught the kids basic life skills like preparing simple meals and cleaning their own rooms, which gave them pride in contributing to the household. They practiced chopping vegetables for salads or folding laundry under her patient instruction, turning chores into small achievements. Seeing them gain confidence in those everyday tasks reassured me that they were developing independence alongside the security of home. I earned a promotion at the IT farming tech company that came with better pay and more flexible hours, making it easier to balance work demands with caregiving responsibilities for the kids. The raise allowed breathing room in the budget, while the schedule change meant I could be present for school events and evening routines without constant stress. That professional step forward felt rewarding because it directly supported the life we were building together. When Travis entered his late teens, he started experimenting with a basic smart farming app as a personal project in his final year of high school in Fresno. His teachers encouraged him because they saw genuine potential, yet they reminded him that meaningful innovation often took years. He spent long evenings building early functions that helped local farmers track soil conditions, but those first versions crashed frequently, forcing Travis to debug line after line when everyone else in the house had gone to sleep. Watching him stay committed rather than defeated filled me with pride because it showed how far he had come from the uncertain boy who first arrived at my door. During that period, both Travis and Brandy joined workshops hosted at the Fresno Public Library, where experienced developers volunteered time to help young creators navigate technical hurdles. Those sessions did not generate overnight miracles. Instead, mentors pushed them repeatedly to refine interface layouts, fix inefficient code, and learn server scaling through trial and error. That steady guidance spread across many weekends became the backbone of their progress, as rough sketches slowly turned into workable prototypes ready for small-scale testing. Travis launched an early beta version of the app during his first year in community college, and rather than going viral instantly, it picked up a few hundred users among farmers in the Central Valley. Feedback arrived slowly, sometimes critically pointing out missing features or confusing instructions. Travis and Brandy incorporated each suggestion, improved the dashboards, and added simple irrigation prediction tools. Only after several cycles of revision did the user count rise into the thousands, driven by word-of-mouth conversations at local co-ops and agricultural forums. Tracking those growing numbers became a shared excitement that strengthened our bond even more as a family. 2 years later, a mentor finally introduced them to a venture capital fund in Silicon Valley, but the fund hesitated until Travis and Brandy demonstrated real user retention and clear agricultural value. They spent months compiling field data, interviewing farmers, and rewriting their pitch before finally securing a modest seed investment. The funding allowed them to leave their part-time jobs and devote themselves fully to expanding the product, while hiring specialists for work they could not yet perform alone. Signing that investment agreement marked a turning point because it rested on earned credibility rather than hype. The small company began recruiting its earliest employees and leasing a modest office in downtown Fresno, close enough for easy commutes and structured enough to host investors. Daily operations remained scrappy second-hand desks, whiteboards filled with revisions, and long meetings about cost management, but the environment gave their ideas a formal home. Watching the team evolve from 2 siblings at a kitchen table into a functional startup brought a deep sense of accomplishment for all the years of quiet work behind the scenes. Several more growth cycles passed before Time magazine finally recognized Travis and Brandy as the youngest billionaires in the United States, framing their journey as a slow-built disruption rather than a sudden miracle. The article detailed how their smart farming technology improved crop yields for thousands of agriculture workers and emphasized the resilience needed to transform curiosity into industry-shaping solutions. Reading that profile reminded me that determination, patience, and opportunity can combine to produce something extraordinary from beginnings no one ever expected. One evening, Paula showed up suddenly at the front door of the house, looking worn out with faded clothes that had seen better days, as she immediately asked to see the two children she still referred to as hers. She stood there on the porch, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, while insisting that blood ties gave her an unbreakable claim, no matter how much time had passed since she walked away. The sight of her, after all those years, stirred a mix of old anger and disbelief, because the timing felt anything but coincidental given recent publicity about the kids' success. She went on to explain that she wanted to step back into the role of mother now that Travis and Brandy had grown into accomplished adults with everything going well in their lives. Paula spoke with a tone that mixed regret and entitlement, suggesting the years apart had been some kind of necessary break rather than a permanent choice. Hearing her frame it that way made the original abandonment feel even more selfish because it ignored the daily effort required to raise them without her involvement. Paula opened up about her failed life in Texas after splitting from Marvin Anderson, describing dead-end jobs and lonely rentals that left her with little to show for the freedom she once chased. She claimed thoughts of the children never left her mind even during the silence that lasted over a decade, without a single call or card. Those words rang hollow against the reality of what she had chosen, leaving me to wonder if regret only surfaced when their achievements hit the news. I confronted Paula directly, pointing out that she had forfeited every legal right long ago through the abandonment and complete lack of contact for all that time. The court decisions backed by years of evidence made any claim she tried to make now completely invalid, no matter how she justified the past. Speaking those facts calmly took effort because the moment carried so much weight from everything built in her absence. Travis and Brandy heard the doorbell from upstairs, then came down together, sensing something serious from the unfamiliar voice at the entrance. They paused in the hallway, exchanging quick glances that showed they were mentally prepared for whatever this unexpected visit might bring, after discussions we had held about possible scenarios over the years. Their presence changed the air in the room because it shifted the focus to how they would handle seeing Paula face to face. Rhonda happened to be over that night helping with some paperwork related to the company, so we stepped into the kitchen for a brief exchange before deciding to face Paula together as a united front. That short conversation grounded me because her steady support reminded me we had built something solid that no sudden appearance could shake. We agreed to keep things controlled while letting the kids take the lead if they chose to speak. "I deserve to be their mom now," Paula said with a voice that cracked slightly under the tension filling the entryway. I looked her straight in the eye and replied, "You lost that right the day you left them on my doorstep." The final confrontation unfolded right in our living room that evening. Travis stepped forward, first locking eyes with Paula before asking in a cold, steady voice, "Who are you?" which immediately made the air in the room grow thick with tension that had been building for years. His question carried the weight of all the milestones she had missed, turning the moment into something sharp and unforgiving because it stripped away any pretense she might have hoped for upon arriving unannounced. Brandy followed without hesitation, speaking in a calm yet firm tone. "Our mother died 15 years ago," echoing the exact words we had discussed as a family in case this day ever came. That statement landed like a final boundary because it redefined everything Paula thought she could reclaim simply by showing up now. Hearing those words from the child she left behind shifted the entire dynamic, leaving no room for the narrative she tried to spin. Paula attempted to plead her case, raising her voice slightly as she explained regrets and hardships. but the three of us shut it down with clear, reasoned responses about the irreversible consequences of her choices back then. She reached out with excuses that sounded rehearsed, yet we countered each one by focusing on the facts of abandonment and the life built in her absence. The exchange stayed controlled, but firm, refusing to let emotion override the truth we had lived every day since she walked away. I reminded Paula once more that the California courts had terminated all her parental rights long ago, based on the complete lack of contact and support over the years, making any attempt to reinsert herself legally impossible. The judge's ruling from back then stood as an unchangeable record that protected Travis and Brandy from exactly this kind of disruption. Stating it plainly in that moment closed off the last avenue she might have imagined still open. Paula eventually turned toward the door, her face showing deep disappointment as she realized no amount of words could bridge the gap she had created herself all those years earlier. She left without another protest, stepping back into the night that brought her here, carrying the full weight of a decision that could never be undone. Watching her go brought no satisfaction, only confirmation that some choices close doors forever. We gathered in the living room, wrapping arms around each other, feeling the strength of the family we had formed through consistent commitment and love that grew stronger in Paula's absence. That embrace reinforced everything worth protecting because it came from choice, rather than obligation. The quiet after she left felt peaceful, knowing we had stood united against an attempt to rewrite history. This story shows that abandoning family for personal reasons leads to consequences that cannot be reversed, teaching us the value of responsibility and long-term commitment in American society, where selfish choices can mean losing connection forever. It encourages prioritizing unconditional love and mutual support to create meaningful lives worth keeping intact, rather than risking permanent loss through impulsive decisions. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of this emotional story. Your patience means a lot to me. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done in this situation?